All righty. So when I first moved to Mexico, I thought I was ready. But when I arrived, I quickly realized that things here ain't remotely close to being the same way they are in the States. If you don't have a handful of coins, you ain't getting into the bathroom, because here you pay to go to the bathroom, public bathrooms in most cases, and they're not readily accessible like they are in the States. I remember sitting in the restaurant waiting 40 minutes for the bill that never came. I didn't know enough Spanish to ask for the check, so I just waited and waited and waited, and that bill never came. And here, you'll quickly find out that the customer is always right. That's really not a thing here. So, especially if you're looking for a refund. So they do a lot of stuff differently here. We're going to talk about that in a minute. Mexico isn't just a different country. It's a completely different rhythm of life, from the secret Facebook economy to why you'll never see free refills again here when you go to the restaurants. There are some major unwritten rules here that nobody tells you about in the travel brochures. Whether you're planning your move or you're already here feeling a little lost, today I'm going to break down a bunch of things that do not work like they do in the States. And I'm going to share this stuff with you so you don't have to learn about it the hard way. So I'm just going to jump in. We're going to talk a little bit about everything: cash and payments, shopping, tech, and all of that stuff. So here, and you hear people talk about this all the time, cash is king. Everybody wants cash. Nobody want to pay taxes. Taxes here can be outrageous. So everybody wants it. So when you hear always keep money on hand, even when you go to the doctor, many times the doctors, they don't want to accept credit cards because they have to pay taxes on it. They have to identify the source of the income. And they will ask you for cash. One of my daughters here had surgery here, and it was a Sunday when she checked out, and they wanted their money. And they wanted cash. They didn't want to take no credit cards. They didn't want to take any transfers. They wanted cash. I think it was something like 60,000 pesos I needed to come up with, which is about $3,000. And here, you'll be lucky if you could take out the equivalent of $500 out of an ATM machine, point blank. And because many of the machines have very small limits in which you can take out. So doctor wanted their cash, and we had to figure it out. So I always keep money. And for me, it's like, who's just randomly walking around with 60,000 pesos? But people here, they keep cash. Cash, like I say, is king. You definitely want to keep a reserve of cash on you. Many times when you go into the restaurants or businesses, that credit card terminal won't work. And if you ate all day food and you try and pay with a card and they don't take it, you better have some cash, or you better call somebody who has some cash, or you're going to jail. So they want their money. So always make sure you ask, do they take credit cards, particularly if you are out at a restaurant. Refunds. You going to the store, buying stuff, especially like electronics, they will open up the box, take everything out, plug it into the wall, put the batteries in the remote control, and make sure everything works. They'll turn it on, they'll have you see that it come on, and then they'll have you sign a piece of paper saying that it worked. Because what you ain't gonna do is take that TV home or that computer home or that laptop home and then come back 2 days later talking about it don't work and you want your money back. Ain't happening. You know what I'm saying? So refunds, many times it takes like an act of God to get your money back. So when you get ready to buy something, make sure you really are ready to buy. So oftentimes we'll order stuff online so we can avoid that stuff, to order stuff, through sites like Amazon and whatnot. Had a lady buy a sofa, didn't work out right, took months for her to get her money back. Chargebacks aren't really a thing here, so oftentimes people will ask, should I get a local bank account? so I can get debit cards or credit cards or whatever. And I often say continue to use your U.S. debit card or credit card, because if you file a charge back, you at least have a chance to get your money back. But if you're using one of the local national debit cards, Mexican debit cards, the bank cards, chargebacks really ain't a thing, And if it does happen, it could take 6 months for you to get your money back. So for very large purchases, we try and use that U.S. debit card. So again, just trying to give you all some tips and things to be aware of when you come. Other things in terms of monies and whatnot. When you go see the doctor, or you need to go to the emergency room, or you need to have emergency surgery, private care often requires payment before treatment. Many times, if you don't got the money, they ain't gonna see you. They ain't gonna treat you. It could be an emergency, not gonna treat you. I just saw a story the other day of a guy who injured his leg in an accident, and he had insurance, but the places that he went, they wouldn't accept his insurance. Then somebody offered to pay, and then they were like, no, you can't pay for him. If you pay for him, it might cancel out his insurance, and then you become liable for it. And so, of course, he opted not to do that. And so it took like a day or two before the guy was able to actually get seen for his leg, and they ended up cutting it off because I guess, don't quote me on this. I guess perhaps the facilities or the hospital just felt it was cheaper to cut the leg off versus fixing it, because a lot of the public hospitals here, they don't have a lot of money, a lot of funding. And so the simplest solution is generally pretty brutal. It costs a lot of money to fix the leg. It takes a lot of time. You got to find a specialist who could do it. And if you don't have the money, I don't know if they did an x-ray or not or anything like that, but so the system is different, but they do have private health care. And like I say, in those instances, you got to pay. You got to pay to play. So think that through, or make sure you have some insurance. And insurance here can be kind of costly, and that's a whole nother topic. That's not what we're here to talk about today. If you want to talk about that stuff, book a consultation, and I'll put our information later on in the site. But those are some things you just need to be mindful of. You got to pay to see the doctor. I know when we had, one of my daughter's surgery, they had her hooked up to everything, and when it was time for her to be discharged, they came through with the terminal in the room, ready to get the money. Well, yeah, we had 3 surgeries here, so everything is confusing now. Now, we had to pay cash for that one, but they were not going to take the stuff out. No, she had went to the hospital on another emergency. She had tubes and stuff in her and lines in her arms, and they were not going to take that out until we paid. In other words, no, and another client recently had her all hooked up to stuff, and they brought the credit card terminal to her room to pay the bill, because they was not going to take any of all that stuff out until she paid that money. That's just the way it flows here. So moving along, shopping and all of that stuff. So Facebook, here everything happens on Facebook. You can find apartments for rent. You can find homes for sale or homes for rent. You can order food on Facebook. You can order juices on Facebook. You can order herbs and plants on Facebook. And live selling happens on Facebook. So Facebook is a real major thing, the marketplace especially, the Facebook pages. Everything happened there. You can buy anything. And the beauty is, for example, if I wanted to go online and buy or saw some flower pots or whatever, I can go on Facebook. They'll send me pictures. I can see the videos, and then they'll bring it to your house. And they might charge like 30 pesos extra to deliver it. 30 pesos is like $1.50. They make everything super convenient. You see somebody selling hamburgers and fries on Facebook, they'll drop it in the feed, cooking this stuff right out their house. They will bring it to your house for $1.50 equivalent. So if you have ideas and you want to make money, if you want to cook food or bake cookies and cakes, man, get your stuff on Facebook Marketplace and Facebook page and set up your thing and join the local Facebook groups, because all the neighborhoods or colonias have a Facebook page for that particular area. So like Concal have their own Facebook group for the locals, and there's like 10, 20,000 people in the Concal group, maybe 30,000, I can't remember. And people from Concal posting all their stuff in there. Hey, you need a makeup done, or they'll come to your house and do all of that. So that's something that's different. In the U.S., oftentimes stuff on Facebook and Craigslist can tend to be a scam. It's the complete opposite here. So you got options, man. Literally, custom furniture you want made, you can just go in the group and post in the group and say, hey, in Concal, because again, you're looking to put stuff or find people in your area. So in Concal, I can go say, hey man, are there any wood makers here, furniture makers here in Concal? I need some cabinets made. They'll come by and quote me. If I need some rugs or curtains or just some plumbing work done around the house, hey, I need somebody to come clean my air conditioning units. I can just write it in the Facebook group for Concal. 5 minutes later, you get all these responses from people, and they'll come. They will come. So it makes life super convenient, and it's a blessing. So anything you need, for me, I always check Facebook Marketplace, or I go into the group and type in, you need a housekeeper, go into the group, and people will refer their friends and all of that. Another thing when shopping here, bags. Bring your own bags. Most of the grocery stores, even most of the big brand stores, like H&M, hypothetically, ideally you bring your own bag, or you will pay for a bag. So you want a bag to walk out of the store, H&M, you pay for that bag, and they'll put your stuff in there, or you walk out with it in your hands. And we've been several times when we first got here, weren't used, some places in the States, they've been doing the bag thing forever. In Georgia, where we live, it wasn't really a thing. So coming here, it was new for us. And the first time we was exposed to that was when we were living temporarily in Canada. And, it was like, wow, you gotta bring your own bag. So if you don't have bags, you'll be carrying your stuff out in your hands. Some stores don't have an option to buy bags. They just flat out don't use them at all. So whatever you get, you be bringing them out. And it's not unusual. So when you go to the grocery store or Walmart or whatever, people fill their buggies up. Many times they don't have a bag. They just leave it. The cashier will scan everything, put everything back in the basket, and then they go to their car and they just take everything out one at a time and put it in the car, in the trunk. So that's a thing. Another thing related to shopping, pharmacies. Most medicines are available immediately. Like in the States, you go to the pharmacy, give you a prescription, then you got to come back a few hours later. Here, you walk straight in there and you walk right out with your medicine. And most of the medicines here don't require a prescription. So you just go in there and get what you want. Need your blood pressure medicine, need some diabetes medication, need some asthma medication, whatever type of medicines, for the most part, in most cases, do not require a prescription. Just go in there and tell them. In fact, take it a step further, most of the pharmacies, every neighborhood have pharmacies in their neighborhood. You just can go on your phone, type up in the app to the pharmacy and say, hey, I need some metoprolol. Type it in, 100 milligrams, give me a box. And they knocking on your door 15, 30 minutes later. Free delivery, and what it's understood, you can tip the guy, 20 pesos or 30 pesos, which is $1.50. I don't know if the locals tip, maybe or maybe not, but it's a free service with most of the pharmacies. They don't charge for delivery. And but the convenience of it, with them bringing the medicines to your house, you don't have to leave. That's why living here, in many cases, having a car is not really a necessity, because everybody deliver everything. We had a refrigerator delivered to our house when we lived in our first apartment, and I think the guy charged us like 100 pesos to deliver the refrigerator, which is like the equivalent of $5, and it coming clear across town. And now, mind you, we live out of the sticks. So depending on where you live, if you live closer in the city, most of the time, these folks don't charge extra for delivery at all. I like when you buy a bed or a mattress here, and it doesn't cost anything extra, when they bring your bed and your head, they set it all up. You buy furniture, they set it all up. Buy a table, need some chairs, they set it all up. And they might charge an extra $5 for something like that, but who wouldn't pay $5 for them to set all that stuff up? I know I would. What else? Shopping. Again, just talking about different things, how things are different. In this part of Mexico, you're dealing with Mayan culture, Yucatecos. So they're shorter, they're smaller. And so oftentimes, if you're a tall guy or a tall woman, or even an average height woman, it's kind of difficult to find your size clothes, especially shoes. For me, finding a size 12 shoe is very difficult. So generally, I gotta go to Costco or Sam's Club, and periodically throughout the year, they have a big showroom of shoes that I can buy. And I'll generally stock up on 2 or 3 pairs of shoes. So when I wear them out, because I've been doing a lot of walking, showing y'all the city, I would have the spare shoes. So it's very difficult for me to find running shoes, walking shoes for my size. And the kids, our kids' clothes, having issues finding clothes their size. I have an issue finding clothes my size. It's a challenge. So again, just something to be mindful of. I don't think that's probably an issue in other parts of Mexico, but in this region, like I say, the people are much shorter, the furniture is much shorter and smaller, and not as big as it is in other parts of the city. Let me get this mouse here. I'm just making sure I got all my notes. And so also make sure you know what your shoe size is, because the numbers are different. So a size 12 in the States, I think it's like a 10 or 11 here. So you look into that. The numbers are different. They're not the same. So kind of do your research here. Let's talk about briefly dining out and the food culture. So going to the restaurant, you eat your food, the waiter come through, they clean your table off, and you're done eating, and you just sitting there assuming they're gonna bring you the bill. They ain't. You gotta ask for it. They will not interrupt your meal by bringing you the check early at all. You gotta ask for it all the time, no matter where you go. So if you're sitting there ready to go and you're wondering what's going on, you wave them down and ask them for the check, which is la cuenta. Or you can do this from across the room, like you're scribbling something, but you're scribbling it in the air, and they know that means bring me the check. So that's just something. I remember sitting in the restaurant for like 30, 40 minutes waiting. I didn't know enough Spanish to know what to ask for, how to ask for it. I just waited. I ended up calling somebody. I'm like, man, they don't bring the check. And they're like, no, you got to ask for it. And how do I ask for it? Say la cuenta. And so they brought the check. And then when they bring the check, sometimes, this is not all the time, but sometimes they'll bring you the check and they walk off and won't come back until you call them back and let them know you're ready. And at that time, they'll tell you, hey, they'll ask if you want to pay cash or you want to pay credit card, and they'll bring the terminal to the table. They will process it in front of you. If somebody takes your credit card and walk off to the back, chase after them and get your card back, because that's not what they do here. They bring a wireless terminal to the table and they always process it in front of you. They don't do that in the States. You know what I mean? It's almost like in the States, they want you to get scammed. You know, in the States, they take your card, put it in the billfold, and walk off to the back for 10, 15 minutes and then come back. They could have bought everything they wanted on Amazon, but that ain't happening here. Even when you go to the drive-thru, they will stick a terminal out the window and let you pay in the terminal in front of them. They will not walk out. So another thing is here restaurants, they expect you to hang out and talk all day. So in the States, it's about turning over the table for the next guest so they can get more people in and flowing in so they can get more tips and all of that, make more money. Here, folk will sit at that table for 4 and 5 hours after they done ate their meal, and they might sip on a little bit of coffee and drink a little bit of tea or something, but they ain't in no hurry. They will talk and talk and talk and talk. Family and friends and socializing is a really big thing here, and they do that. So it's not unusual to see large families just hanging out and talking. Another thing about the restaurants is most of the time when you go to these restaurants, you won't ever see salt on the table or pepper. Want salt? You need to ask for it. You know, in the States, you got salt and pepper all on the table and whatnot, and they will what's the word? They have it ready for you. But here, not a thing. You gotta ask for it if you want it. I gotta run to the bathroom. Y'all bear with me just a second. I hope to remember to edit this part out. All right, sorry about that. Let me see. So the last thing we talked about was the salt. Oh yeah, another thing, refills. Refills are not a thing here. They generally give you canned Coca-Colas or canned Pepsis or bottled Pepsis, but the overwhelming majority of restaurants, you do not get refills. If you want to you're gonna pay. You're gonna buy another drink, another serving, and you're gonna pay. And sometimes, depending on the restaurant, they give you the little small little bottles, small little cans of Coca-Colas. You know, also they serve a lot of fresh juices. Coffee is a big thing here as well, but no refills. Refills are not a thing. You want another drink, order another can of Coke or Pepsi or whatever, and that's that. The sauce tax, you know, so like you go to Wendy's or something, or even just a local brand restaurant, you order some chicken tenders or nuggets, they give you one thing of sauce, and if you want a second thing of barbecue sauce, you gonna pay for it. They hand you 2 napkins. You know what I'm saying? You have to beg for more napkins, but they want to charge you. They give you 2 packs of ketchup. Like in the States, they'll throw a whole bunch of ketchup and sauces and damn near a bag of napkins into your bag. But here, no, they do not waste anything. So if you want some extra sauce, you're gonna pay. Is what it is. So again, my goal here is just kind of prepping you for what to expect. One of the other things about many of the restaurants here, they will have a kids playroom area. So, and they actually have staff that will watch the kids in the playroom. So if you're out eating and you're trying to have a meeting or something, or just want to hook up with family and friends, kids' room is generally stocked full of stuff and slides and bouncy balls and bouncy things. They got all of that in there to keep those kids occupied so you can have a good time. And like I say, they generally got somebody else watching the kids and keeping an eye on them while you out here doing your thing. Social etiquette and just typical daily life. You know, so when you go into an establishment, a small shop or something, you know, always say hello, or buenas, or greet them, buenos dias, buenas tardes, buenas noches. Always greet them. That's something they do here. They will generally say something, say hello, and greet you. And That's just something to be mindful of. If you step into an elevator, you greet them. Buenos tardes. Buenos dias. You just say something. You walk into a room, let's say you go to the doctor's office and there's 4 or 5 people sitting there waiting. When you come in that room, you greet, you say hello, because everybody, people will say hello to you. And when you leave, you say, you tell them bye. You know what I mean? So when you're coming in to a small office or getting off the elevator, you say hello and you tell them bye when you leave. You know what I'm saying? So that's, that's a very cultural thing here. They greet, and when you're walking by in the restaurant and let's say you're sitting at a table, somebody will walk past you. When they come into the restaurant, they walk past you. They'll say provecho. They like, enjoy your meal, and they say that. And so when they're leaving the restaurant and they come in past your table, they will say provecho. They're enjoy your meal. So that is the thing here. So if you want to look and act like a local, these are little things you do and say when walking into a room or passing by somebody while you eat. Another thing, so many homes, I don't know why I would say many, but a lot of homes, they have doorbells and whatnot. But oftentimes the people here, they don't use them. They don't knock on the door. They don't ring the doorbell. They'll shout from the side of the street, Buenas, or they'll call your phone. But they won't come up to your door and knock on it for whatever reason. I asked the local young lady, I was like, man, why don't y'all come knock on the door? And they like, oh, we don't want to interrupt you. I said, but you interrupted me when you hollering into my house from the street. You know what I'm saying? It's like, the effect is still the same. You interrupting me. So why not just ring the doorbell, then yell from the street? And then oftentimes I have to hear them yelling from the street for 10 minutes before I realize they hear from me. You know what I mean? So it's like, what's the point? I had one guy come here and say, hey man, I'll be at your house between 6 and 7. And he got here early, unbeknownst to me. I'm just gonna assume he got here at 6. Kim ended up getting in the car, left, and saw the guy sitting out there. Didn't realize it was him. I didn't realize it was him. So she got in the car, and now he's seeing all of this. The guy in the car watching all of this unfold. He watched her get in the car, leave, and she gone for a whole hour. And then she come back an hour later. He's still in the car. And so Kim come in and like, well, you expecting somebody? I was like, yeah, guy's supposed to come by between 6 and 7. To switch out the cars, and because I had to get maintenance on the car. And she said, I think that might be him out there. So I go outside and he's sitting out there. I'm like, dude, why didn't you tell me you was here? Or why didn't you alert her that you were here? He's like, oh, I was just waiting for what? You know what I'm saying? I'm like, dude. So I estimate that he probably was sitting out there for 90 minutes, possibly 2 hours, because he didn't want to come knock on the door or even text me that he was here. I'll be there between 6 and 7. He didn't even give me a solid time. So there was no reason for me to be going outside at 6 o'clock or 6:20 or 6:45 looking for him. You know what I mean? Because there was no specific time. It was a range. And so, but again, this is how they roll here. A lot of this stuff for me, it just don't make no sense. But I imagine he probably would have sat out there for another 3 hours before he would have said anything, or might not have said nothing at all. You know what I mean? But I will say one thing about them: they are patient. Which leads to my next point. When you're going shopping, you need to have patience, because many of these places will have long lines. When you go to the bank, there's a long line. Go to the grocery store, there's a long line, especially depending on the time of day that you go. And it doesn't help that when the person in line get up to the cashier to get the groceries, they want to have a conversation for a few minutes. They want to talk, shoot the breeze, laugh, hee-haw, and carrying on. And it's like, I'm trying to go. You know what I mean? I got to go. I don't got time for this. And so when I first got here, I had my back, and I get to the register and there's long lines and all the registers. I just leave the back end and just walk out the store. I was like, man, I don't got time for this. But now I stand in line. I got used to it. I try and plan my trips to the grocery store much around the time that most people at work, so I can avoid the long lines. And there's just some stores I just won't go into at all because I know the lines are long. On the weekends, I might get up and go early in the morning and there's no lines. And you'll learn that. You'll learn that. So have patience, expect it, embrace it, slow down because they ain't moving fast. The tipping economy, they roll different here. So here you tip the baggers in the grocery store, the people who bag your groceries. They are not on payroll with the company. They don't get any type of benefits or insurance. They get paid exclusively from the tips that you tip them. So if you're in Walmart, you tip the bagger, the person that's bagging your groceries. What else? Parking attendants. They have these parking attendants out there that'll help you park. They help you back out the car. They'll help you back out the parking lot. I used to wonder, I'm like, why do these folks feel the need to think that I need their help backing my car out? And after being here for a while, you start to see how the way the locals drive and park their cars, and particularly the ladies. Oh my God, they cannot drive, and they need all the help they need. And so I appreciate those parking attendants that'll help guide them out. And many times they'll hop in their car and back them out for them. The other day within the grocery store, the lady was having a hard time pulling in to park. And Kim was like, you go help them park. I'm like, man, I ain't getting in these folk cars helping them park, because if I hit something, they gonna be all up in my behind trying to get me and make me liable. I think that grocery store, the parking attendant, they can help, they could be liable, but I ain't gonna be liable. But Kim, being Kim, she go in there and offer the help, and got in the lady's car and parked it. I just went on in the store. I like, man, I don't got time for this. And I tried to warn her. I was like, look, we taking these unnecessary risks, people's cars, and, because you mess it up, man, hey, no good deed, you know what I'm saying? You know the saying, so be mindful of that. So you had the parking attendant. Then you tip the guy who helped, you tip the guy who helped. If he backs you out, you tend to tip him. Now, sometimes, depending on the store that you're in, many of the stores are off a main road. And these people here, they will not let you in. They will, you try to get in, they ain't gonna let you in, they ain't gonna let you out, they speed up to keep you from getting in front of them and whatnot. So depending on the store location, some of these parking attendants, they'll go out in the street and stop the cars with their little red towel. That's how you recognize you got a parking attendant. They have a red towel winging it around. They'll stop the traffic so you can get out. So you, again, always keep coins on you. So you get the coins, give him a few coins for helping you out. In those cases, I don't mind handing them coins, because you will be stuck in that parking space, in that parking lot, because these folks will not let you come out into the street. Or you have to wait for a break, and you could be waiting for a break for 5 minutes before you can jump out there. So traffic can kind of get a little crazy like that. Also, you will have a guy, you let's say you go to 7-Eleven, because they do have 7-Elevens here. There'll be some guy or lady that will open the door for you. So a lot of these folks here, they just make up a job. They'll just open the door, and then you pass through the door. And then when you come out, they open the door for you. And it's just a random person. This is not an employee of the store. This is just some random person and expecting the tip. And so, to my surprise, oftentimes I'm seeing people giving them a few coins. And they open the door, on their way out, they go get their stuff and get some change. They'll get a guy some change. And it's like, dude, I didn't ask you to open the door. And dude, you don't even work here. You know what I'm saying? So it'd be funny because many times it'd be a dude that don't even got no shirt on. He's just like, I will give you 10 pesos to put your shirt on. You know what I'm saying? Mexico will have you laughing, man. Sometimes you just lose it sometimes because it's like, for real. And oftentimes when you go to a traffic light or a stoplight, there'll be a performer at the light. There'll be a flamethrower, a knife juggler, there'll be some acrobatics, there'll be a man in a Spider-Man suit climbing and doing acrobats. And then it'd be funny because some of these guys that be in these Spider-Man suit, you know, Spider-Man normally skinny, but these Spider-Man be ginormous. And then they be trying to do their little stunts and they can't do them. They get stuck or fall or roll over and fall. And, you know, but they out there making an effort. They put on their show and then they'll come up in between the cars with their hat out and you give them a few coins. And so sometimes I give a few coins with it if they put on a good show. And I'm like, you know, I can appreciate a man or woman out there doing their hustle. And so I generally do that. Another thing that you'll see, so, and a lot of times you don't need to go to the grocery store. If you need to pick up some lemons, there's a guy at the traffic light selling lemons. So as you get stopped at the light, you can buy some lemons, you can buy some mangoes, you can buy some apples, you can buy some Mennonite cheese, there's a cheese guy. They got folks selling fresh juices and drinks and tacos and all kind of stuff, tamales, and like I say, the culture is different. So you got options everywhere, and many times that food off the streets are really good. The price is right, and you know you can get something that kind of holds you over to dinner. You don't have to necessarily be going to the what do you call it, convenience store to get stuff that's generally marked up a lot. So it's a thing. So as I mentioned, always keep coins on your persons, always. So when you get change, keep them coins. You might just want to get you a coin purse and keep in your bag or keep coins in your pocket because you're gonna need them. You're gonna need them for parking, depending, it's generally parking. You generally don't gotta pay for much parking anywhere in the city. But when you go to places like Central, which is the equivalent of downtown, you generally have to pay for parking in the main areas, touristy areas, particularly closer toward the center of the city that you get. You will pay to have parking garages throughout, but there's lots of parts of Central where you don't have to pay for parking, but as you get closer to the cathedral area, you will need to pay for parking. And so keep the coins for parking, keep the coins, especially when you get to Central, keep coins on you because they'll have bathrooms that you'll need to pay for, to get access to, et cetera, et cetera. And I'm almost done, believe it or not. I mean, I can go on for days, and if you like me to continue on this topic, let me know. I'll come up with another list of things. So just put a comment down, say, hey, Cartel, give us more. I found this was very helpful and useful. Please share more, because I got a lot of them. I'm going to talk about this for 3 days. What else? So services, infrastructure, so public restrooms outside of Central, like I say, you know, they're a little bit more difficult to find. They're not as accessible. You can generally find gas stations, bathrooms at the gas stations, and generally you're gonna have to pay a few pesos to use the bathroom. Some gas stations, if you're getting gas, they allow you to go in there for free, but not all of them. So even if you get gas, you gotta give some money up, get a key from the gas attendant, and they will let you go to the bathroom. So another thing about the gas stations, they pump your gas here. You don't get out and pump your own gas. I don't know how that is in other parts of Mexico, but I know here in the Yucatan and the southern part of Mexico, they pump your gas. They'll change your oil, they'll wash down your windshield wiper, they'll replenish your fluids. So if you're low on fluids and stuff like that. The other day, I was out with a client, we ran up through a pothole and got a flat tire. I was close enough to a gas station. I was able to pull up to the gas station. The gas attendant flagged me down. He saw my tire, pulled up, and they changed my tire. 5 minutes later, they had popped the trunk, swapped out the tire, put them on, and voila, and I just gave them a tip, the equivalent of $5, 100 pesos, which could have been too much, compared to what the locals pay. Here, once you get here and get into the rhythm, you generally want to start to pay the same thing the locals pay. You don't want to overpay. And it's not that because you can't, but oftentimes locals don't like when you overpay because it kind of messes things up here, the economy here, and makes it more difficult for the locals because people, when they start getting used to getting these big tips, they're going to start demanding them from the locals, and a lot of the locals don't get it like that. And so generally, you don't want to try and overpay for your home rents and stuff like that. You don't want to over tip. Typical tip here for restaurants is typically 10%, 15% if service is just through the roof excellent. But the overwhelming majority here, 10%. When you start tipping 20% here, is considered very excessive. And so again, I know it's like, oh, I just don't feel right paying less than 20%. Well, that's in the States. And keep in mind, like, you're here in another country and their ways are just different. So you just gotta be mindful of that. So, like I say, they will pump your gas and you just tip the gas attendant some money, give them a few coins, and voila. Another thing that tend to be different here, so many homes use gas, and they got a big giant gas tank on top of the roof. And what happens is they'll run the gas lines from outside to your stove and to the water heater. So your hot water heater, gas water heater, they're never in the house, they're outside. And the gas tank that deliver the gas to the hot water heater and deliver it to the stove is outside. So if there's an explosion on the tank, they're gonna explode outside. You know what I mean? So that's something different. So when you run out of gas, when that tank run out, you get on your app, WhatsApp, you send a message to the gas guy and say, hey man, I need some gas, which remind me, I need to, hey Kim, we need to get them gas folks out here. You hear me? What? We need to get them gas people out here to refill the tank. Yeah. And not that we're empty, but the other day our power went out and we have a generator. And so the generator ran for a couple of hours, and we just always want to make sure we have plenty of gas in the event that the power goes out, and we want to make sure that generator runs. And the way our generator is connected to our house is connected directly into the electric panel. So we can turn on, so when the generator come on, we don't have to go plug in all these extension cords, but our whole house is set up. We can turn on all the lights in the house. We can turn on the ceiling fans. Our generator is a large capacity, probably medium capacity, where we can at least run 2 air conditioning units in any part of the house. So as long as we don't run 3, we don't have a problem. So the night our power went out for 2 hours, we were binge watching some Netflix. Because we was able to turn our TV on, our internet modem was still running, so it was great. So, and honestly, power outages here is not bad, but they happen. You know what I mean? And when they happen, it's always an inconvenient time. And for me, I do have a sleep apnea machine, and I can't sleep without it. And so being able to have my generator running and I can still go to sleep at night is a big plus. My CPAP machine will run and I can turn my air conditioning on in my bedroom and have air conditioning. So, and then the girls, they will link up in one room. This is if it's at nighttime. They'll link up in one room, whether it's downstairs or one of the rooms upstairs, and they'll all lay in that one room, and that way they can run their air conditioner. Because remember, we can only have 2 at a time. I probably should have bought a bigger unit. That way I could have probably powered 3 or 4, but for me, this is for emergency usage, not for life of luxury. But in hindsight, I still kind of wish I probably got a bigger unit just because, you know what I mean? So these are little nuances. So we talked about the gas truck, the public restrooms. Man, they drive crazy out here. They get in that fast lane, they be going 15 miles an hour, and they just be driving slow, like with no worry in the world. And they're holding the traffic up, you know what I mean? So this place will make you have some patience and give you patience, So it's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing. So at the end of the day, moving to Mexico is about more than just a change of scenery. It's a change of mindset. You have to learn to slow down, keep your money, keep your coins ready, and realize that the weird way of doing things is actually just the local way of living life to the fullest. So I ask you this, which of these things that I talked about surprised you the most? Or if you're already living here, what's one thing I missed that drove you crazy when you first arrived to Mexico? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment. And if you're planning your move, make sure to hit that subscribe button for more boots on the ground tips. If you'd like to talk directly about your plans, go to our website, moveabroadandthrive.com, and book a consultation. And let's talk about your strategy and plan for living here and moving here. Also, we do have a VIP members group section. There's a section in there called Ask Cartes. As a member, you can come in the group, the VIP group, and ask me all the questions you want, and typically within 48 to 72 hours, I respond to your questions. So whatever you have inside of our community, you can post and ask questions there. Also, you can get feedback from other members in the group and just kind of get advice and get their opinion to what life has been like. A lot of our members share resources about how they got immigration, which Mexican consulate they use to get all their paperwork and to get approved, and they kind of share a lot of tips and advice. So become a VIP member. I think it's a great deal. When you go to the website, moveabroadandthrive.com, you'll see a link that says VIP or join VIP. Click on that, read up on it, and join us. So I'll see you in the next video. Thank you for watching.